Hernandez Govan's presence on Instagram Live was discovered by someone that genuinely rides for young Dolph's legacy.
Was on Instagram Live, and he pulled up.
Showed up in person to fight this man. No argument, no warning, just bam. Additionally, the video is currently becoming viral. On Instagram, he goes as Castalia Sammy, and he accomplished what many people had been dreaming of for years. But before we get into that tape, here's what I really want you all to know, because you are unprepared for the depth of this entire situation if you are unaware of Hernandez Govan's complete background, what the police claim he did, how he solved the case, what transpired when he was released, and what happened to his own daughter. This is going from beginning to end, so stay focused. After watching this video, you will have a clear understanding of why the pull-up occurred and why no one in PRE's camp is upset about it. Now let's get started. Okay, so for those who are unaware, I am aware that some of you are new here. Gang, welcome to the channel. We were able to return to November 17th, 2021. Anyone who was into Memphis rap should find significance in that date. Anyone who truly loved the culture. Young Dolph was killed on that day. Shot and killed in Memphis, Tennessee, at Makeda's Homemade Butter Cookies. He used to frequently visit this location, a communal location. The entire planet sensed that. After all, Dolph was more than just a rapper. He was an entire movement. Empire of the paper route. Autonomous. He created something genuine. He encouraged an entire generation of artists to follow their own path, own their brands, and own their masters. And that was taken from the world by someone. That is the cornerstone of everything we discuss today. Thus, remember that part at all times. Now, as soon as the police began looking into this murder, two names emerged: Cornelius Smith and Justin Johnson, aka Straight Drop. These two people were accused of being the shooters, and of actually pressing the trigger, and there is ample documentation of those cases. People are aware of them. There was a third name, though although this name may not have received as much attention in the media, everyone in Memphis and on the streets knew exactly who this person was. Hernandez Govan was that name. Hernandez Govan was not accused as a shooter, so this is where things get really interesting. Gang. It was not claimed that he entered the store. To be clear, these are accusations made by law enforcement. The prosecution claimed that Hernandez Govan was specifically involved in the plot that resulted in young demise. He was accused by the police and prosecution of participating in the coordination and planning. Hernandez Govan was explicitly accused of being engaged in the purchase of the white Mercedes-Benz that was utilized in the murder. They said that he assisted in getting that vehicle to the intended users. Now, consider that for a moment, because, in the eyes of the law, you can be held equally accountable as the individual who fired the trigger if you are involved in a murderous conspiracy, assist in its planning, supply the necessary instruments, or play any coordinated role. In this nation, conspiracy law operates in this manner. It makes no difference how far away you are. If you have never handled a weapon, it makes no difference. Prosecutors may target you equally harshly. If you were involved in the scheme, and with Hernandez Govan, they attempted precisely that. He was taken into custody. He was charged. Additionally, the community was paying attention at the moment. People were keeping an eye on this case, because it involved Dolph. This was not an isolated incident. People wanted everyone involved to be held accountable because this was one of the most adored individuals in Southern rap culture. How? Therefore, did Hernandez Govan defeat it? Because he did, y'all. He prevailed in the case. And that's what made people feel that way for a very long period. This is what took place. The conspiracy theory was a major component of the prosecution's case against him. The notion that he was a willing and aware participant in the scheme. However, in court, the evidence that directly linked him to a knowing criminal conspiracy rather than the evidence against the other defendants seemingly failed to meet the requirements for conviction. Since I'm not an attorney, the specifics of what transpired in that courtroom are difficult to understand. However, this is the main point. Hernandez Govan was not found guilty by the jury or the procedure. He strolled, and honestly, I have no idea how that ended up with Dolph's admirers. I can't even begin to explain it. Because of this, people had already formed opinions in the court of public opinion, particularly in Memphis. People believed that this individual had anything to do with Dolph's ordeal. It was painful to watch him go free. That struck a chord with folks. Here's where Hernandez Govan made matters much worse for himself. Though because many people choose to keep quiet after overcoming a major accusation, they remain silent. They act appropriately because they recognize that they have just avoided a serious situation. They continue to live their lives. That's a wise decision. Any sensible individual would act in such way. Hernandez Govan took the opposite action. You guys aren't prepared for this part. Since this man began conducting interviews after winning the case and returning home, he began to speak. He began using platforms, broadcasting live, producing podcasts, and having these in-person discussions. Furthermore, the energy he was exuding was not that of a man who had recently escaped. incarceration. It was not the enthusiasm of a person humbled by a near miss. He seemed to be enjoying the story and leaning into the notion that he was related to what had happened to Dolph. I want you to pay close attention to what I'm saying now. Some will claim, and his fans will counter, that he was just openly defending himself and correcting the record after being wrongfully accused, and I hear that argument. But many people saw it differently based on the way he was acting, the things he was saying in these appearances, and the way he was behaving. It read as like he was attempting to establish a reputation based on something horrible, as if he was exploiting the tragedy of young Dolph's passing as some sort of influence or street credibility, and it did not set well with people in Memphis pre-circles and the community that truly knew and loved Dolph, because Dolph had a family that was viewed as insulting on a level that is difficult to even measure. Mia J., a woman, was in love with him. He was a parent. He had an entire paper route empire of artists and individuals that looked up to him, relied on him, and developed their careers alongside him, and it's a smack in the face to each and every one of those folks to have someone who is purportedly engaged in his death out here doing press runs and talking about it like it's a badge of honor. The streets also, remember, the streets never forget. However, at this point, I honestly don't know how to feel, and I want everyone to take a close look at this one. We had the opportunity to discuss Hernandez Govan's daughter's situation, because, gang, here's the thing. Life can be challenging. Additionally, the universe occasionally has a startling method of completing a circle. Hernandez Govan's own child, his daughter, was murdered. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't desire for anyone to lose a child, no matter what this man is accused of doing, what people think of him, or how they feel about him. That is a degree of suffering that goes beyond stake and street politics. Losing a child means losing a part of yourself that you will never be able to regain. And when I consider that, I also consider the fact that young Dolph left behind children who were raised without their father as a result of what transpired, and it seems as though violence never stops. Families continue to be deprived by it. It continues to create children who must grow up without a parent. Furthermore, no one benefits from that loop. No one. I don't mess with children's lives like that, so I'm not arguing that what happened to his daughter was justice, karma, or anything like that. I will not go there. However, I will add that Hernandez Govan's life after winning that lawsuit, his decisions, his public persona, and the reputation he appeared to be pursuing all failed to bring about peace. It didn't lead anywhere worthwhile. Additionally, his daughter paid a price that was unrelated to her. That is simply the truth of the surroundings that these circumstances produce. And since this isn't only about rivalry, influence, and viral videos, I believe that is important to the story as a whole. All of this is connected to actual lives, genuine anguish, genuine families. And since it adds weight to what just happened, I want you all to keep that in mind. It provides context. Alright? So we've caught up completely. Hernandez Govan is someone you are familiar with. You are aware of his alleged part. According to the police, you are aware that he won the lawsuit. When he got out, you know how he moved. You are aware of the catastrophe that affected his own family. Since everyone is currently discussing what happened, let's talk about it now. Hernandez Govan took to Instagram Live. I honestly don't understand the reasoning behind his decision to live with everything associated with his name at this stage of his life, but he did it. He went live, and it seems that Castalia Sammy, a pre-affiliate who is active in Dolph circles and a representative of that side, either watched a live or someone else pulled up and informed him that the man was on Instagram Live, providing him with the location or figuring out where he was. And gang, he arrived as if he were literally present at Hernandez Govan's location. The footage that is currently circulating on every platform you can imagine is the result of what transpired next. A confrontation took place. The video is available, and it became physical. It was being watched by many. It was being shared. You can only imagine the response. Castalia Sammy is currently being hailed as a hero in some areas, like someone who fulfilled their obligations. For example, someone who went and stood up for Dolph's name, pre-Memphis, and all others who believed that justice wasn't adequately served by the legal system, and because I believe it's crucial to comprehend, I want to explain why that reaction occurs. There is a portion of the public that believes the legal system failed, and that justice wasn't done when someone is connected to or suspected of being connected to something as important as young Dolph's murder wins their case, and then emerges, moving like Hernandez Govan, running his mouth, doing interviews, and seemingly enjoying the notoriety. Additionally, people may take matters into their own hands when they believe that the system failed them. Legally speaking, I'm not here to tell you if that is correct or not. I'm here to inform you that's how these circumstances actually unfold. That is the code found in these settings. That code is being executed in real time when Sammy learns that the man was on live, finds him, and physically appears. Let's take a moment to discuss Castalia Sammy because, in my opinion, people should learn more about this person before making snap judgments. This isn't someone who just hopped on this topic for views or clout. Based on what's posted on his Instagram, and what individuals in his circles have said, this person has been outspoken about his views toward the individuals purportedly involved in Dolph's death for some time, and he truly has ties to Pre and felt the connection to young Dolph and what he stood for. Someone who decided to become a hero for the internet out of the blue. This person has experienced the accumulation of these emotions, and it seems that everything reached a breaking point when Hernandez Govan was sitting there on Instagram Live, at ease, visible, and reachable. And the problem is that, in a place like Memphis, where people have long memories and strong allegiances, living on a street like that with that type of moniker linked to you is what they refer to as missing, failing to meet expectations. With that type of history trailing you, you can't be that approachable, noticeable, and at ease. Hernandez Govan discovered that the confrontations video has quickly gone viral. You may learn everything you need to know about the public's opinion of Hernandez Govan and his post-case conduct from the comments, reactions, and way people are interacting with this tape. Right now, no one is feeling sorry for him. People are experiencing very different emotions after watching that video. I think it's crucial to discuss what this implies in the larger context of the young Dolph legacy, so allow me to do so as well. Born Adolph Thornton Jr., young Dolph was more than just a rapper. That's what I said at the top, and I mean it more today than I did then. Growing up in one of the hardest places in the nation's South, Memphis, this man used his determination and business sense to create something truly remarkable. At a period when everyone believed you needed to get signed in order to succeed, he became independent because he felt that he should own what he developed. He declined offers that would have made others wealthy. Paper Route Empire was more than a brand. It was a way of thinking. It was evidence that you could succeed at your own pace, and there was evident mourning in Memphis after his death. On the internet, you could sense it. It was evident in the music that was released. Later, you could sense that in the way Mia J. and the family continued to forward the pre-heritage in the wake of the incident with dignity and purpose. That sadness persisted. It doesn't disappear. And the rage that people have when they witness someone like Hernandez Govan acting in this way is directly related to that grief, because you don't forget when you love someone, honor their legacy, and believe that they were taken from the world in a way that was incredibly unfair. You also remember the individuals you think were involved. When they win their case, you don't forget them. When they begin doing interviews, you remember them. When they go on Instagram Live and pretend everything is fine, you will undoubtedly remember them. It's not all sweet, and everyone is aware of it now. As is always the case when something like this occurs. Let me also address something that I believe will be discussed in the comments. Well, he beat the case. He's innocent. The court said he didn't do it, is what some people may say. Legally speaking, he was not found guilty. It is a fact. The foundation of our judicial system is the idea that a person is innocent until and unless proven guilty. Furthermore, he was ruled not guilty of the charges against him by the norms of that system. However, Gangand, I really need you to hear this: not being found guilty does not equate to innocence in the eyes of Dolph supporters. To Memphis, it's not the same as innocence. There are restrictions on the court system. Evidence is repressed. Witnesses are uncooperative. Procedural issues unrelated to guilt or innocence cause cases to fall apart. The residents of these settlements are aware of this. They have witnessed that they've seen guilty individuals get away with it. Innocent people also receive time. Therefore, in some quarters, it is not automatically assumed that someone who wins a case like this was innocent, particularly when that individual turns around and begins to move in the same manner as Hernandez Govan. His actions after leaving, his interviews, his enthusiasm, and the way he was discussing all of this effectively exposed him to the audience. Because of this, no one who is currently applauding Castalia Sami is actually listening to the "he beat the case" argument. The opinions of the streets and the court diverge greatly. The streets have spoken. As of right now, and since I am aware that Castalia Sami's choice to pull up will be a topic of discussion, I would like to address this directly. Whether or not this was the appropriate decision will be debated. People will view it from a variety of perspectives. However, I will say this. This wasn't a random beef. According to the pre-side and Dolph's riders, it wasn't a clout chase. This person decided that there would be repercussions if someone disrespectful was out there breathing easy and talking about something related to the death of a man they loved. That's the background. Whether you like it or not, this novel takes place in that universe. The thing that will hurt Hernandez Govan the most is that he opted to go live, which is why it happened. You made the decision to be visible. In essence, you gave someone who was having trouble with you a roadmap to where you were. Nobody made you do that. That was a decision, and there were repercussions to that decision. After Castalia Sami saw it and took action, the video has gone viral. Hernandez Govan, who has been attempting to create some sort of public persona around his notoriety since winning his case, has suddenly gone viral once more, but not on his own terms. Not talking his talk, not sitting in an interview chair. In a video, a pre-affiliated person appeared and forced him to answer for everything. We've covered a lot of ground in this video, gang. So before I let you go, I want to make sure everything makes sense. Young Dolph was our first, November 17th, 2021. The death of a true legend. Someone who created something out of nothing and served as Memphis' top representative. We discussed Hernandez Govan's apparent involvement in the conspiracy, the automobile, the coordination, and the charges against him. We discussed how he overcame those accusations and how, rather than acting appropriately, he went out and conducted interviews, obviously accepting the narrative that came with his name being associated with Dolph's demise. We discussed his daughter's passing, a tragedy that illustrates the never-ending cycle of suffering and violence that results from these circumstances, affecting innocent individuals who never asked for any of it. Then we arrived at the present moment. Castalia Sammy discovered that the man was on live, confronted him, and the video of the exchange went viral online. This is a story about loyalty, grief, what happens when someone feels that justice wasn't served through the right channels and chooses to take action, and the repercussions of the decisions you make when you defeat a serious charge and then act carelessly rather than strategically. And at the center of it all is young Dolph, a man whose name, legacy, and memory are still so significant that, even years after his passing, people are still prepared to move on his behalf. That is the essence of true loyalty. When someone truly meant something to those around them, that's what it means. You don't simply grieve and go on. You have that with you. Additionally, some people don't simply scroll past something that seems to violate their name, memory, or ideals. Everyone is now watching as some people pull up. Welcome to the Hernandez Govan situation. If you're new to the channel and this video introduced you to it, we cover all of this, the true tales, and the topics that don't usually receive the thorough analysis they merit. So please subscribe. You already know what we do if you've been here. Please share your thoughts on all of this in the comments. About Castalia Sammy arriving, regarding Hernandez Govan's actions after winning the case, about everything. I'd like to know how you guys are doing with this. Additionally, please use the like button if you would want to see more content that breaks down the complete story behind the headlines. This will let me know that you want more, and I will continue to provide it. Young Dolph, long live. Pre-indefinitely. In the next one, I'll see you all.